Love is a high-risk behavior.
I don't know about you, but adulthood is nothing of what I thought it was. When I was a child, I imagined adulthood was a place to achieve dreams, to become what our teachers asked us about becoming. Adulthood was represented so well by my parents. They just seemed to make it look so easy. And while I do remember the wise words of my mother saying, "Don't be in a rush to grow up," in the essence of childhood and time, I didn't know what she actually meant by that. There were similar words that were uttered that serve as a more incentive to grow up that I heard as well, like, "Wow, she's getting so big. Oh, she's just growing up so fast." Getting big was a prize to be had. Getting big meant that I was closer to the dreams and the place that my experience and my existence amounted to. Childhood as a child was not the dream for me. It was a season in time and I was just in it, right? But adulthood felt like it was chosen. I want to welcome you to the podcast, High Risk for Heartbreak. I am your host, Christina, and I'm so glad you decided to join me for season 3. If you are new here, welcome. Take a little time, stay a little while. I pray that you find value in at least one thing that I say to you today. And to my old and faithful returning crew, you know just how much I appreciate you. I have a really lofty goal, you guys, to reach 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year. And I'm so scared because that's a very lofty goal. But we're starting something so that we can finish it. So if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button for me, please, and let me know that you are liking this content. If you do like this particular episode, you can hit that thumbs up button. It helps to keep me informed about how to better tailor this channel just for you. This podcast is all about recovery of self after relational heartbreak and other types of heartbreak, which we will be discussing more in this season. I'm very excited about that. But for the last 2 seasons, I have shared my experiences to the best of my ability about relationship styles and what we are saying and doing about the upset and the unmet expectations in our relationships. I have shared stories. I've brought on others to the podcast to discourse about the subject of heartbreak and really shared some of my innermost thoughts and my beliefs in the midst of all of this, of course. And I have been really healing, you guys. I've been healing through my own heartbreak, and this has been so helpful for me. Recently, I celebrated my birthday, and it was one of the most celebrated birthdays I think that I've ever had in my life. My friends, for whatever reason, the way they showed up for me for my birthday month was a little jarring, honestly. It was jarring because I have never been have never had so much high time. It was all about me, and it was a lot of all about me, and that was interesting. Usually I would just celebrate the day and then get on back to business, but this year, I felt this extended display of love and importance that I guess I have to others. It was beautiful. It was lovely. But since my birthday, I have to admit I've been spiraling downward. I have been experiencing what I can only describe as a form of depression. My birthday was a reminder that I have a lot of people that value me, people that value my presence, and they want to celebrate the aging of my presence. My birthday was also an alert that I am even closer to adulthood. And I know it sounds silly because I'm definitely an adult. But things just got deeper for me. Saying this sounds really funny because, here I am in my 30s. And while, I've been an adult for a very long time now, I got my first job when I was 14. I wasn't an adult then, but I'm just saying, I've been on this train to adulthood for a long time and have been in it for a long time, living in 3 major cities in the United States by myself for a long time. I've been doing this, you guys. I'm not new to this. I am true to this. However, every year it just gets deeper. I have this sort of post-birthday blues. And it's been a month and a half now, so I don't know what's going on. But initially, I thought that the blues came from all of the high celebration to this stark reality of my life as usual, which is not a bad life, I must admit. In fact, the work that I do in my life is very fun and it can be very fulfilling. Working in entertainment, making movies and TV shows as an actress, as a stunt woman is a really cool job. I cannot complain. Truthfully, it's very cool. However, What I'm experiencing, I have finally realized has nothing to do with my career path or my relationships with people, but everything to do with my purpose and how I am far away from the dream that I had as a child. God has now replaced that dream with purpose, and that has become extremely significant to me. Now, there's this shift that took place on my birthday, maybe not exactly on the day of my birthday, but around that time, not only in time, but in my soul. It was on a soul level. I am being taken far from the dreams of my elementary school teacher, Miss Fox, asking me about, and being pushed closer to God's vision for my life. It feels a little bit like forced growth, you guys. It feels like forced growth in places where I have, to some degree, been willfully stagnant. There are places of life where I have just preferred to continue to dream. And God, however, is pushing me to actualization. I have been playing a very dangerous game, you guys, with my days, infantilizing myself for fear of actually growing up. I actually rededicated my life to Christ. In January, I got baptized again for the second time in my life. I first gave my life when I was 6 and then gave my life as a true profession when I was 13. And now here I am rededicating my life to Christ and got baptized. And I will say, since that moment of the rededication, things have become a little more real to me. It's amazing how you can drift a little bit, even in this Christian walk. You can drift a little bit and get comfortable and cozy where you are. But when you say, Lord, wherever you lead, I'll follow, and you mean it, He's going to challenge it. I said and I meant that I love God and that I will follow wherever He leads, because His preferred will for my life is greater than mine could ever amount to. However, this forced growth is nothing to trifle with, and it has been launching me into this interesting state of discomfort because growth is no longer a choice for me. It's a mandate. It's a mandate on my life. So here I am, kind of mourning, I think, my old life. I am in this place and I'm coming to you guys vulnerably on episode number 1. I'm scared. I am honestly scared. And I know that God does not He is not the author of the spirit of fear. That is not something that He authorizes, but I think there's a healthy fear that's happening here. This healthy discomfort that is happening here as I begin to transition to the woman that God is actually called me to be. A girlfriend of mine and I were talking about how sometimes there are things in your life that you are just not prepared for, but by way of your nature, you are equipped for. Being prepared and equipped to me are two very separate points of view. Being prepared for your next season means that you have put an effort to stay ready, to ready yourself for whatever comes. Like an athlete practicing before a game, they are prepared to take on the opposition, and typically they are seeking the challenge, right? However, when you are equipped, you have the tools in your box, but you may not have the skill set or the training or the knowledge or even the motivation, the locomotive to start. And you may not know how to use those tools. So I think that's where I believe I am at right now, is I have these tools in my box and God is calling me to mastery. God did not intend me to be an entertainer only. That's what I will say. He intended me to use that medium to perform the actual purpose for my life. Entertainment is the conduit. And that is something that I can say my teachers never prepared me for, that the dream is the manifested outcome of purpose. Being a doctor is the dream, but being a servant is the purpose. You could switch that dream about a doctor out with a nurse or a mortgage lender or customer service agent, and the purpose would still be the same, to serve. What I'm learning is that the dream was never the destination, but a conduit for purpose. When you achieve your dream, you might likely try to achieve another, because its fulfillment only goes as far as the achievement. However, purpose is like a renewable resource, and it has an endless supply. And that doesn't make dreaming any less valuable, because it's definitely valuable to dream. The Bible talks about vision casting. We need to know where we are going and what God is calling us to, what we want to do. But it can make up the difference between what you are equipped for and what you are prepared for. It can be heartbreaking to disappear inside of your dream and reappear as your purpose. And I think that's what I'm going through right now. So today I want to just discuss the disappearing dream and how growing older and wiser comes with a cost. So let's relate. Over the last month, I have been really uncomfortable. I have been really distracted. I have been missing in action socially, and I've just really been inside more than anything else. And I felt this heaviness about halfway through February after my birthday. All the celebrating was continuing. It was multiple weeks of celebrating, and I found myself really enjoying my friends and all the festivities, and everything was amazing. But then I had to come home to me, and that wasn't that fun anymore. I was sitting with myself each day, each night, unmotivated to do anything that needed to be done for me. I've been in social media, just scrolling, watching people live their dreams. And I'm not particularly fascinated, honestly, or moved by any of the stuff occurring around me, because I feel like I can't even believe social media anymore. But the truth is this, that it has been a very numbing time for me. There are highs that are happening in my life. I've been on set a lot of times already this year, and it's just the middle of March. There are people that aren't working, so it's such a blessing. The amount of auditions that I've been having, who I've been auditioning for. Acting wise, like the auditions have just become so much meatier, and the shows and the films that I've been auditioning for, great content. I'm just so grateful to be able to do that. However, my soul is heavy. My soul has been really heavy. And a cloud of depressive feelings have just kind of engulfed me. I think I can describe that as functional depression, because I'm able to be, but then it's just kind of just heavy, you guys. So when it comes to my yearly forecast, as some of you guys know, I do a yearly forecast. Some people might know it as goals or vision casting. I'm almost completely off track. I'm going to tell you guys the stuff that I said I was going to do. Ciao. We are in an interesting place. We're on the way, but we're in an interesting place. And it's become quite apparent to me that my vision is beginning to slowly align with God's vision. And there's some impassing happening. So there are things that are not occurring yet because of me. The second thing, though, that I have realized about myself is that it's very easy for me to create. It's very easy for me to begin a thing. And it's also very easy for me not to finish it. When I was a teenager, I used to write screenplays, none of which I have produced, by the way. I continued to do this into my 20s and 30s and still yet have had my work produced. I often start to create tasks and I'll bring them to a point, not finishing them, like books, scripts, businesses, unfinished. I have started so many things in my life that I have not finished. And I have a couple theories about this, but today I realize I want to talk about how sad it was, the realization that I had about myself that many years ago that it's not my ministry actually to finish. I'm a visionary and that's my gifting. And so it made sense. I was reading an article that addressed multi-passionate people who aren't finishers. And what I loved about it is that it gave a perspective to multi-passionate people and how they are often visionaries, as I just mentioned. So their passion lies in writing the vision and making it plain. And the Bible talks about that. It is when they have to execute the vision that they might have to enroll others in seeing it through. One of my girlfriends said I would greatly benefit from having a doer, which is a person on my team who is prepared, a prepared executor, someone that is masterful in just getting the tasks done to the finish. And it's not that I can't finish, because obviously I have my list and I'm able to do that from A to Z. When it comes to getting things done, I can do it. It's just that in my life, I have amassed many accomplishments simply by finishing and using the list. However, finishing really is not the driving force for me. And that is something that I don't believe is wrong. I think it's just something that I have needed to know about myself. I've needed to realize that about myself, is that my strong suit is not actually in the finishing. So what do these two things, being in a building season and not being a finisher, have to do with any of my current soul state? Hopefully by the time this airs, I will have something more concrete to speak about. But the overall of that is that it's been heartbreaking to learn that God is calling me to elevate his plan and his vision for my life, and the gravity of potentially not finishing it because I know how I operate. It's like I've become privy to the fact that I am a starter and a nurturer, but not a finisher. And God is calling me to actually finish something. I have uttered the words literally to God, Lord, please allow me to do it before you call me home. And as morbid as this may sound to some of you guys, I think about death all the time, by the way. Anybody else out there? I do. I'm very much immortal. I think about it all the time. Not immortal, I'm amortal. I have my reasons, of course, for thinking about it all the time. But the Bible also tells us, teaching us to number our days that we may gain a heart of wisdom. It is wisdom that helps me to understand that my time here on earth is so purposeful, yet it is like a vapor. Right? It is quickly fleeting, and for some more quickly than others. And I believe that's what I have a bit of anxiety about, is the ability to finish this work with excellence and in time. I believe I'm experiencing some fear that I'm going to mess it up because I have to be a blueprint person for what is to come. And as a visionary and a writer, I can make it plain, but it's like, oh, I haven't had anyone that has done this or seen anyone who has done this type of work before. So Lord, you're calling me to write it on my own. Okay. And when you are creating a blueprint for a home or for a business, whatever it might be, and it's not something that you've seen before, it really is coming from the from the transference of the Holy Spirit informing you, right? And in these last few weeks, I have been met with a bunch, you guys, a gang, a bevy of limiting and heartbreaking beliefs that have kind of ushered me into this place of realization that adulthood is very hard and it's very nonstop when it comes to the pursuit of actualization. It's also a lot of striving, at least it has been for me. And my recent response has been, I think, very uncharacteristic for me. I've been freezing. I've been literally not freezing cold, but I have been, in terms of my response to this, in a frozen state. Now, typically when I'm met with stressful issues in my life, my response is actually to fight through it. I'm a fighter usually, but this time is different. It has been as if I hit my birthday and my personal new year hit me. And I know I can't go back to the woman that I was last year. And as simple as that may sound, for whatever reason, the top of the year didn't mark that for me. That change wasn't marked at the top of the year, top of 2025. It was my birthday, my actual new year. So I have been praying and I have been fasting my way out of this freeze response that I've been experiencing. I have been studying and abiding my way out of this freeze response. And I have come to see that I am mourning the old me. And there are a few conclusions that I have come up with during this downtime, or what I will call a depression. I don't like to speak that over myself. And I want to share them with you, and then we'll be done. Firstly, I know that I need to let go of the non-finisher and create a system that supports my finishing. And perhaps that looks more like a team that I can entrust, like I said earlier, to the tasks that are not necessarily my strong suits, or will help me better manage my time and my efforts so that I can use that for the vision. Secondly, I know I need to step into a different level of prowess, okay? When it comes to me as a business, I need to be as big as I think. Now, I know there's someone out here that can resonate with me when I say this, especially when you set your goals at the top of the year. Now we are 3 months in. Where are you? How are you doing, sis? How are you doing with that? Are the things that you were thinking happening? Are you as big as you thought you were? And this sounds so simple, but self-efficacy is extremely important in delivering what was ordered. As many of you know, efficacy is my word for the year, and it certainly has been a prophetic one of what God is trying to retrain my soul to be, which is efficacious. He is trying to retrain me to produce what he said I should. And I think the non-finisher that has been existing in my life since almost all my life has damaged my sense of efficacy in a few areas of life. And I think now I need some healing of those wounds in those areas. Belief is extremely important to achieve what God has called you to. Belief and faith without action and works is dead. I show God the faith that I have in him by the ways that I work towards the things he's called me to, not the other way around. And this freeze state, this depression, I know is a lack of faith. And working that faith is what is lacking here. I'm lacking the working of the faith part. Another thing I know I need to elevate is the way that I invest in my finances. Now, this is kind of a little offshoot, but interestingly enough, it's a big part of what is getting ready to happen for me. I have been really financially risk averse, and I tend to be quite lean when it comes to my finances. I'm kind of a minimalist. I don't spend on brand names. That's not a thing that I do. I don't really care about it. I wasn't raised that way. So I just care to look nice and keep care of the things that I have, right? That's how I was raised. But I just try not to spend my money if I can help it, right? I track everything to a T through my budgets, and I really weigh large purchases to the point where I'll fill up the cart and I'll leave it, and I'll come back a couple days later and I'm like, do I need it? Nope, I don't even feel the same way about these things, right? So I'm not a knee-jerk shopper. I'm not an emotional shopper, any of those things. I am very financially risk averse. I have identified that about myself many years ago. My student loans have scarred me. Okay. They have made me fearful of investing, especially if I don't have the liquidity. And I know that if I am ever going to elevate to the level that God wants me to in my life, I'm going to have to release that financially fearful woman. I am going to have to know and understand that it takes a little money to make a little money. So continuing to feed that fear, even if it's a healthy financial risk, is keeping me stagnant. It's keeping me depressed. It's keeping me in childhood instead of adulthood. It's keeping me in fear instead of faith. Bondage is not only a physical thing. Our souls and our spirit can be in bondage to habits, to mindsets and patterns of behavior because of woundedness. God did not free my spirit, okay, for me to keep my soul, my mind, my will, my imagination, affections in bondage to the old ways of me. God did not free my spirit to keep my body in bondage to the vessel that I use to go and do the things that I'm meant to do. All of them. I am a huge proponent of those who are multi-producers, multi-passionates, meaning God has called you to many streets and many parts of the marketplace, that you go and fulfill the purpose God created you to do. I'm a huge proponent of that. Your life will be better. Trust me. Anyways, this freeze response, this depression that I am having is a sign of bondage that is in essence my reverence to something that is antithetical to who God says I am. In all of these ways, in finances, in my efficacy, and my finishing, I can grow or I can choose to feel a way about him calling me to grow. And I feel like I'm getting preachy here, but I want you to understand, for those of you who are listening and who are watching, that it is the small foxes that spoil the vineyards. Those little paper cuts in our relationships that ruin the relationship if we don't get those foxes out of our garden. Those small limitations, those small limiting beliefs that you have about your capabilities will ruin your ability to start, nurture, and finish a thing. And that is a sign of a wound, of brokenheartedness about a thing, and it has to be dealt with. My pastor did a sermon for New Year's Eve, which re-aired again last night. And surely enough, that was definitely God re-delivering this message to me because I was there for it in person. And that message was not for me on December 31st, 2024. I can say that. That message was actually meant for me on the day that it re-aired just a couple of days ago. And I know this because of the way that my spirit and my soul and my body heard it. He mentioned how God is calling me to finish. I will link the sermon in the description if you guys are interested. He mentioned how God has called me to some things that I have started and nurtured, and he's also calling me to finish them. He also referenced that Jesus Christ is not only a lamb with tendencies and behaviors like that are gentle or meek or compassionate or sacrificing. But Jesus is also a lion. It is time for me to start looking a little bit more like the lion when it comes to these things that God is calling me to finish. And it's going to take a lion or a lioness for me to finish them. The lamb has done her part. Amen. She has begun a good thing. Amen. She's nurtured a good thing. But it's time to fully produce it, to birth it into fruition. And listen, I can shout here, you guys, because unequivocally, God timed this message for my spirit and my soul. He timed it to get my body moving on these things and out of this depression. And so now I move, despite this fear and this freezing and where it wants to keep me. I move one leg, one step, one task, one call, one check off the list, one risk, $1 at a time. The brain is strengthened by doing things that you don't want to do. So you have to get up before you want to. And I'm getting up before I want to. You may feel like Gideon, ill prepared for the task, but you are deeply equipped. You are already equipped for the task. Don't allow any longer for this depression, this doubt, this set of limiting beliefs that have all been formed from your past. Make future choices for you. You are not a machine that is prepared to just spit out answers and solutions every time there's a problem. We grow wiser. We grow into wisdom. We don't start that way. You have agency, though, to choose differently this day, to nurture yourself out of the heartbreaks and leave them behind, because honestly, what service are they providing for you anyway? What are they doing for you anyway? In closing, I pray that this was good for you, even if it was just one of you. I pray that you receive some confirmation about some things that you've been hurt by. I am so happy to be back to podcasting and pouring out to you and with you. And I look forward to this time of great testimony and sharing. And so I want you guys to share with me too in season 3 of High Risk for Heartbreak. I want you to talk to me. In the comments below, let me know one thing that you are going to do to move closer to where God has been calling you to. Stay tuned. Stay locked in, you guys. Each week, Tuesdays on Spotify, Wednesdays on YouTube for new episodes. And let's get ready, you guys. Let's get ready for becoming high risk, because loving yourself and others is a high risk behavior. Thank you guys so much for loving yourself first, so you can then go and love your neighbor. Until next time.
Why don't you stay a little longer? You like what you like, right? Subscribe to the channel so we can spend a little more time together, and maybe comment your thoughts, because I care what you're thinking. Love is the risk and the reward.